You can scale structure, you cannot scale complexity. Founders are not wired to create structure. So the team is a significant leadership shift in the company, but if the growth and scale comes in, it's going to land on their shoulders. Focus not just on the what, but more importantly, we focus on how are you doing what you are doing.
Welcome back to the Breakout CEO podcast, friends. I'm Jeff Holman, your host, and I'm really glad to be here today with Derek Fredrickson. Derek, thanks for coming on the show.
You're welcome, Jeff. It's great to be here. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you. You're coming in from Paris, right?
That's right. Paris, France. I've been here for, obviously American, but I've been here for about 10 years.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I spent a week there on a 1-month trip through Europe last summer. June, was it? I think May, June, July. I can't remember. We spent a month in Europe with the family and stayed 1 week in Paris.
Oh, lovely.
Absolutely loved it.
Yeah. We moved here for one year, and then 1 year's turned into 10. So there you go.
Well, I should turn my 1 week into 4 weeks.
There you go.
Or something like that.
Perfect.
Well, we're here to talk today. This is part of our Advisory Insights series where we bring on advisors and experts who help our other audience members, our scaling CEOs, our founders who are building businesses, and we share some frameworks, insights, resources that you people like you know, experts and service providers can bring to other members of our audience. And so today we're talking about finding and fixing executive leadership misalignment issues in scaling businesses. So I'm excited to talk about this as I've talked to a lot of our CEO guests. This comes up so often. So many people are like, well, I was aligned and then I wasn't, or I never got aligned until I did. And that weaves into their success stories almost every time. I bet you run into that quite a bit.
A lot, actually. With the clients that we work with, our clients are companies that are scaling and growing at multiple 7 to multiple 8 figures. And this is one of the inevitable subjects that we get into in the very beginning, because there's usually some misalignment from the get-go. And so part of what we have developed are some ideas and methodologies about how to break the misalignment and get the operator and the founder back on the same page so that things start moving in a positive direction and back on track. So yeah, it's definitely a big part of what we do.
I love that. Well, before we jump into that, the meat of it, let's give us some background on where you work, what you do, what takes you to France. Is that part of what you're doing, or is that just tangential?
It's somewhat part of it. That could be a whole other episode. But my wife and I moved here really for quality of life. We all, she owns a business coaching company, and my business is remote, so we had an opportunity to spend a year here with our family and experience a different culture, a different language, and we did all of that.
Awesome.
And so, but everything that we do is primarily U.S. based, so U.S. clients, U.S. companies, U.S. team. But yeah, my background, I've been doing COO, Chief Operating Officer, kind of second in command work for about 15 years. And then I kind of took off the COO operator hat 2 years ago and launched the COO Solution and kind of put the CEO visionary hat on. So I have a unique perspective of being both an operator and a founder, if you will.
Love it.
And launched the COO Solution. Essentially, we provide a done-for-you fractional COO model for companies that are scaling, basically to remove the founder from the day-to-day, streamline operations, hold the team accountable, create the structure and the systems and the process for scale. So that they can get to their objectives, their goals of whatever they want to accomplish, whether that might be exit, it might be double my business, it might be I just want to take a break from the day-to-day and have somebody run my business for me. So that's how we step in and provide that model. Yeah.
Well, do you find that that's, that seems to me, but do you find that that's one of the key functions for going from an operator to a scaling business? Because a lot of people, they build their business around themselves. That's like they're skilled operators. They're really smart people. They're engaging. They build relationships. They service their customers better than everybody else. And that's why people hire them. And then one day they're like, wait a second. This happens in the legal field that I'm in all the time. Wait a second. I'm now in the golden handcuffs, or I'm in, legal jail because I'm like, how do I build beyond me? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's inevitable, and there's nothing wrong with that path. I think entrepreneurship is never linear. So in the beginning, they had to be the jack of all trades. They had to be the marketer, the salesperson, the customer service, the bookkeeper, the website developer, even if they didn't know how to build a website. And I think as companies have grown, they've realized that, okay, I need support. I need somebody that I can count on to help execute at a certain level to relieve some of the day-to-day that they might be involved with. So they hire doers, they hire the bookkeeper, they hire the customer service person, they might hire somebody that can handle the operations. But at a certain point, it's like new level, new devil. So they always hit that glass ceiling of complexity. And I think especially for companies and founders, when they're at that multiple seven-figure mark, if they see the light that more of the same is more of the same, they actually need a significant leadership change in the company in order to
Yeah.
scale. And they need to really embrace the role more of the founder and of the visionary and less of the operator, which is hard for entrepreneurs because they love to, jump in and fix things. They love to be the problem solver. They love to be the person for everything. But at a certain point, they actually need to step out of the doing and often say, do less better, meaning more thinking, less doing, and rely on somebody that is a trusted second in command who has the zone of genius to run companies, to hold team members accountable and create the structure to scale. Founders are not wired to create structure. It's
Yeah.
not very sexy for them in the sense that they maybe want it, but they don't want to be the one to do it. But when they know that structure is actually the thing that helps them scale, and when they can bring in somebody that they can trust to build that structure, that's when they can step back and really see that shift can happen in a really big way, but without having them to be the one that's actually doing all of the heavy lifting. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. And you said a phrase a little while back that I've never heard before. I love it. New level, new devil. So that's I can see how that applies. When you're talking about this type of work, are you talking about like empowering your team below you, or are you talking about actually bringing in somebody who complements you at the
Mm.
top level? Are those the same thing or are those different?
They're different, but it's part of what a really good second in command will do. So I often describe part of what our model is on a vertical spectrum. And the vertical spectrum is that we are your strategic thought partner. We are your trusted second in command.
Mhm.
We are the one that works with the founder to say, what is the big idea? What is the bigger future? What is the vision? What's your North Star that you want? It might be scale. It might be exit. Like I said, it might be you want to take an unplugged vacation for a couple of weeks. You may want to go to Paris and have a 1 week vacation instead
Exactly.
of or 4 week instead of a 1 week. And the second in command, the COO, is the one that captures that as the idea. We're the ones that say, okay, now let me develop the strategy. Now let me create the plan and cascade that down into execution, implementation, and the tactics with the team members that are aligned so that they know what they need to do day in, week out in order to move the business forward. So we're kind of the glue between the strategy to the execution. I often say that the role of the founder, they make it up, right? The
Mhm.
role of the COO is we make it real, we make it happen. And then the team is the
Oh,
one that
yeah.
makes it recur. The systems, the processes, the right people, the right seats. And sometimes at that team level, we assess and say, do you have the right seats? Do you have the right people in the right seats? Maybe of the right person, but they're on the wrong seat, or they don't really know what their seat is. Maybe their role isn't clear, their responsibilities aren't clear. And so we kind of
Mhm.
either I would say maybe up level in a way, like build a culture of accountability and a culture of ownership within the team so that they can do things more efficiently, like get things done quickly, and they can do
Yeah.
things more effectively. So they're getting a higher result. But also sometimes we might say, that's not the right person. They're not aligned in your values. They're not aligned in the culture of accountability. And we may need to bring in a better person for that right seat. But it's the vertical spectrum that's the strategy all the way to the execution. But the team component is a big part. I often say that part of our work is to create a process driven, not a person driven company. And that doesn't mean we don't value people. But when your
Yeah.
team has a really good process to follow, they can get in line and do really, really good work. So we focus on the process as well as the people. Yeah,
Well, and people usually love to know what their expectations are of them
exactly.
too. So a process helps them fit in better and collaborate in the right way. So now you said I missed the first one. I can't remember it. You said something about the CEO's job is to make it something and then
Yep.
make it
Their job is to make it,
real.
their job is to make it up. The big idea, the
Make it
big
up. Oh,
vision,
that's
right? Make it up,
yep.
make it real, make it recur. The COO is
Yeah.
the one that makes it real, make it happen. And then the team, like you said, they just want to have their lane. I call them, and we all need them and we love them. They're the worker bees. They're the busy bees. They're the ones that dot the I's and cross the T's. But if they have a process to follow and a framework or a system, they feel really empowered because then they know exactly what to do, how to do it, when to do it by. That might be SOPs, it might be project management system, it might be
Mhm.
checklist, and it's a more structured way of doing things. And you can scale structure, you cannot scale complexity. And if you have a business that feels complex because the team members are misaligned, the founder thinks we're going here, the team members think we're going over there. I mean, that's just like you're gonna have zigzag all the time, which is not gonna work.
I will say, I think I've talked to some CEOs who said that they have effectively scaled complexity. The results aren't good, but but they've scaled the chaos sometimes. Well, so give me an example of what it is that you would do, or maybe a company you've worked with, a CEO who you've stepped in to be their right-hand man. What does that look like, and what kind of results are you able to achieve?
Yeah, I think we always start with where do you want to be? Again, I always say, what's your North Star? The North Star might be exit, it might be
Mhm.
scale, and it's when do you want to accomplish that? I don't want to know like the next quarter or the next 6 months. Like paint the picture 1, 3, 5 years out, right? What does that
Yeah.
look like? Start with the end in mind and say, okay, if that's where we're headed, if that's the objective, first of all, what's the intention? Like, what's the real objective of why you want to accomplish that? Is it just because you want to make more money? Is it because you want to take a break? Is it because you want to exit? Like, start with the end in mind. And I often say, part of our role is getting the founder to sell themselves on what is the objective of what they're trying to create. Because if they
Yeah.
haven't sold themselves on it, how are they going to sell it with the team and say, hey guys, here's where we're going? So we kind of, and visionaries are, as you probably know, CEOs, founders, they're high idea generators. So one day it might be this and one day it might be that. They're throwing a lot of spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks. And we say, if this is going to stick, then that's where we're headed. But let's get really, really clear and sell yourself first on the vision, then we can
Yeah.
cascade that into the plan. So it starts with that kind of intentionality and what's the real objective. From there, it's like, okay, trust the process. Trust that your operator is the one that's going to make it happen. They're going to own the strategy, the KPIs, the metrics, the results. You don't need to, as the founder, step in and micromanage. You don't need to babysit. You don't need to be the one, are we, did we do this? Did we do that? Because they're not wired for that. They're not wired for accountability. They're not wired for that day-to-day execution. They're wired for thinking big. So let them
Yeah.
continue to think big and stay in the visionary box while they have a trusted operator that's actually owning the result and owning the outcome in a more systematic, process-driven way. I'll give you an example, which is probably a long way to get to your question. So
No, this is great.
classic scenario, we work, I won't mention a name because, he still works with us and he owns
Yeah.
an engineering company in Arizona.
Well, and let me give the disclaimer that you should be giving too. Everybody's been through this.
Yeah.
Like this is not uncommon. It's
Yeah.
normal that like you could put any name on there and it would
Yeah,
probably
exactly.
apply
Okay.
to
So
apply to
client
all of
X,
us. So
client X, he or she owns an engineering company. And so they
Mhm.
were doing about 2.5 million a year. And the founder, classic example, working nights and weekends, constantly on the phone, pinging. There was no structure. There was no, everything was chaos. It was
Yeah.
whack-a-mole. And part of that was um, the difficulty for him to take this. I have lots of crazy ideas. I have lots of things I want to start, but I have nobody here to finish them. And the team is trying to like say, okay, here's the big vision. And I'm trying to do my day to day. I have no direction. I have no clarity. I have no real
Right.
path of what my part is in that. And so
It's just
one,
lobbing stuff over the
yeah,
fence. Like, hey, take care of this. It's gonna be cool once you figure it out.
exactly. Yeah, I'm going to a client visit and like, here's this new project, and I call it like, drive-by delegation. And let me know how it goes on
Yeah.
Monday, and I'll see you after the weekend. The team is left holding this, be like, okay, now I have this brand new thing that the business owner wants me to move forward. I don't know what the objective is. I don't know what the intention is. I don't know what my role is. And also, how am I supposed to do this when I've also got the rest of my day-to-day that I'm already focused on from the stuff that he asked me last week? So one of
Yeah.
the first things we did is said, first of all, you need to get clear on what's your objective. What is it that you really, really want? And then from there, I said, okay, great. Let's reverse engineer. And this is what a really good COO does. They reverse engineer to say, okay, this is where we are today. This is where you want to be in 1 year time. What needs to happen in the first week, the first month, the first quarter, the second quarter, et cetera, so that we know where we're going based on your objective and what we're doing daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly in order to be on track with that. And part of that was also trusting the process and knowing that visionaries are not wired to finish things. They're wired to start new things and let us
Yeah.
come in and do the implementation, do the completion. And so as a result, the team felt more, I would say more empowered, like they feel like they could be more responsible for what their role is because they knew the objective, they knew the clarity of what their part was to make that happen. The founder then also as a matter of trust, but also kind of flexing the muscle of boundary, like not stepping back in when you feel like you have to rescue or you feel like you have to save and kind of micromanage. And we're not babysitters. We create the structure for accountability, which allows the work to get done. So we don't have to say, did you do this? Did you do that? Where are we, et cetera?
Yeah.
And then one of the things I'll share, which has worked really, really well for us with our clients, is that as we're progressing on those big objectives, those big projects, rocks, whatever they're going to be, that are going to get us to the future goal, we have a very transparent way to reflect. Are we on track or are we or are we off track? So on track,
Yeah.
it's a color system. On track means green. Great. I don't need to know anything else. It's on track. There are no issues. Go team,
Right.
go. Yellow.
And a CEO who is a visionary probably doesn't want to know more than that.
No, they
Like,
don't.
please don't be yellow today because I don't want to have to dig into the details.
Yeah,
Like,
and I don't
just
want the
make it green.
story. I don't want the
Yeah.
drama. I don't want all I
Yeah.
just want the top line summary. The top line summary is that project is on track. It's green.
Right.
Great. Go to the next one. It's off track, but we're very confident it's going to be on track because there's some issues we need to solve. Okay, that's fine. That's yellow. Orange
Yeah.
is off track. We're somewhat confident. The issues are surfing a bit more. There might be some confusion. There might be some complexity. So we're still somewhat confident, but we're kind of in the middle. Red
Yeah.
is we're off track and we're not confident to get back on track. That's where the CEO can step back in because maybe there needs to be adding another layer of clarity or another layer of like, hey guys, this is what the vision is. Go team, go. Drum up the
Right.
troops, so
Or
to speak.
authorizing the resources
Exactly,
or
or
whatever. Yeah.
readjust resources, or maybe somebody needs to pivot into a different direction. And purple is, we haven't even started it yet. We haven't even made any momentum whatsoever. And then blue is actually it's done. But I think that's really helpful for a visionary who is a visual person to be able to assess and feel confident on where we are without having to feel like I have to step back in and save things all the time.
Yeah. Well, I'm curious then, well, first off, how did the engineering firm proceed from there? Like, what was the well, I have 2 questions, actually, sorry. What was the team size? I wanna know 'cause you got a CEO with an engineering firm, 2.5 million. What was the team size, just for context? And then what was the result?
I would say about 6 to 8 field engineers. They're people that were doing operations. They had some marketing people, people in sales. So, but the whole operation was about 20. And the
Okay.
founder had been growing more and more. But as a result of this over a period of time, two things happened. Number one, revenue grew, but not just revenue grew, profit grew. So that was the
Mm.
tangible result. That's what the founder really wanted. But the
Yeah.
intangible, the thing that I actually think made the difference more, is that he actually stepped out of the doing and was able to, kid me not, first time ever take an unplugged vacation where he wasn't checking his email and
Yeah,
phone
yeah.
all days of the time. And that's one of those things that you can't get that back. You can't get that time back. So if you're able to step away from the business and be able to trust and know that things are being done and come back and see results and progress and momentum, even better than if you
Yeah.
were there. One, they want to take another vacation. And two, they feel so much more confident. And confidence is everything because when they feel confident, then they feel really clear about where we're going and how we're going to get there. So it was kind of a two-pronged benefit, if you will.
Yeah, yeah, and when they feel confident, the team sees that, the team feels confident.
Totally.
It goes throughout the organization
Yep.
for sure. Well, I'd like to know, because I'm curious, what should a scaling CEO who's dealing with some chaos know about how, uh, a structured, successful COO thinks? Because that seems to me there's a difference there, right? Like, I wanna understand the thinking of the COO so that I can know how to give stuff to the COO or how to present it. Maybe I'm overthinking that. Maybe it's just give them everything and let it go. But I think if CEOs understand the different thinking processes a COO might use,
Yeah.
that might help them to leverage or to work in a complementary way.
Sure. So one of the things that we do with all of our clients is we use a lot of assessments. And assessments are really, really powerful in understanding how are individuals, for example, wired to take action and what are
Yeah.
their strengths. These are two different assessments. One is called Kolbe, Kolbe, which is an assessment that allows individuals, it's not a personality thing, but allows us to understand like how are you wired to take action? Are you wired by doing fact finding and research? Do you follow systems? Do you think in a process driven way? Are you one that mitigates risk? That's the COO. The CEO
Yeah.
doesn't follow a system. They don't do a lot of fact finding and research. They have an idea and they kind of jump in and go with it. And they have a high tolerance for risk, which is why they initiate and start lots of things. So on paper, it's oil and water. But when you know that that's typically how a CEO is wired and how a COO is wired, and you can bridge the gap from strategy to execution, from creation to ownership, that's where things really start to gel. So
Yeah.
that's one of the very first things that we do.